you for watching the next pillar. Today we're going to talk about, or now we're going to talk about production. Production is actually a lot of fun too, because you can create a venue that is really beautiful if you learn to work with the right people and do the right thing. I remember in the early days of my party career, I would go at least 2-3 hours before the party would start and set it up. And I did something very simple. I would bring in some nice appetizers. We had a beautiful area in San Francisco that sold focaccia, which is like a hybrid with like a tomato sauce and onions on top. I would buy big things of those and cut them up and put them on a nice tray. And sometimes I would buy some sushi or other snacks to get people in early to the party. So that's also part of the production. And I would always have a red carpet outside. I had I think it was 20 meters long or something like that, so 20-25 yards. And I would tape it down, and I would have searchlights as well, and sometimes decals with like Alf and Alf on the wall. And some of the sponsors also could get decals, meaning you have a light that shines through a metal thing and it becomes an image on the wall or on the sidewalk. So production is really important because you set the stage. So when people drive by, they see like a guy in a tuxedo that checks in people. You have the stanchions with the rope and everything, and the red carpet, right, and the searchlights. And you have a line, you keep a line in mind there as well as part of the marketing. And going back to a little bit to promotion now, one of the things that I did, I dressed in a certain way. I was always the guy in the red jacket. So people would ask me, where's Alf? Where's the guy in the red jacket? Well, nobody shows up in a red jacket except for once. And I had to tell him to take his jacket off. Just kidding. I actually did. It was kind of fun. Anyway, I was casual about it. So production is really key. You got to do it right. So how do you set it up in advance? What do you need to put up? Or sponsor banners if you have that? How are you setting up the room? The sound system? Is the air condition working? That comes down to the venue again, right? We've got to make sure that all these things are in line. Also think about what are other entrances and exits. That's part of the production. You got to do it right. Otherwise, you screw up and people will sneak in or things will go wrong. So production is really detailed, and you got to also have a breakdown crew. And also, I've mentioned it a little bit earlier too, but how do you pay people? When do you pay people? All of these things. And also it falls a little bit into negotiation with the venue as well. And another thing I also did when it came to production was to get people there early. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. This is really key because you build a momentum and you have people in the room early on. So you can do that by producing the event in such a way that you get sponsors to give some freebies away for the early birds, and you can have some early bird drink specials as well. And also during production, you got to think about your next party. You should have a flyer ready that promotes the next party and maybe the next. So those are really key things too. That's part of production. Another thing many people don't think about. Let's say you're going to have 1,000 people come to your party. Let's say they're going to pay with cash. How long does it take to check each person in? Many people neglect to think about that. They take out their ID, they show it, the doorman looks at it. Okay, maybe that's 45 seconds. Now they got to find their person's name in the list maybe. Or they have cash. They give the cash to the cashier there. They got to give change back. Now they got to put the wristband on that person's hand. How many minutes? You need to time that. You need to know then how many cashiers you need to have in order to get people in fast enough. And that's what comes with experience. You got to think of these things, and that's part of the production because it has to do with how many people you need to hire and all of that. Production is also another thing I do. I had good-looking girls that worked for me with lists. They would go up to certain people that they have been trained to look for that we may not have the email addresses for or contact information, and then to collect their information and put them on the VIP list and give them a little candy, so to speak, at the same time. Next party, you're in for free. Here's a VIP pass in exchange for information. So that's one thing we also do in production. I'm giving away some good secrets for you here. Pay attention, many more coming. All right. Now another thing, how do you, let's say for very often we did parties that had 3 or 4 rooms, meaning 70s and 80s room, European music room, a Latin music room, maybe even a Persian room. And how do you create energy? How do you do the right thing? So there's some really key steps that I made sure to put in place so that it would be built right. You can't just open all 4 rooms at the same time. No, we strategically opened one room at a time and build the energy in it and waited till the crowd came here, because sometimes they get there at 10:30, 11. So, but we wanted to get in people early, 8:30, 9 for the pre-party. All right. So those are another little tidbit that you want to note down. And here we go again. And another thing you need to think about, how do you deal with the people that are working for you? When do you pay them? How do you pay them? The DJs, when they would set up, very often we had 2 DJs in one room. One would be opening the room and another one would be the headliner. And how do you build a crowd with the DJ? The DJ needs to be trained if they don't know how to do that. You just don't start off with blasting music and dance music right away. No, you kind of get into the groove and build it all out. So that's another thing, part of production. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this. Appreciate it. And if you have any questions, things you wonder about, or fire away down here. We're here to learn. I'm learning from you. You're learning from me. Things are evolving and changing, and we're here to support each other. So see you on the other side. The next pillar is the last one, and that's building your list. That's an exciting one as well. See you on the other side.